Un saluto a tutti e bentornati all'appuntamento con i libri. Oggi è nostra graditissima ospite, un'autrice che abbiamo già avuto il piacere di ospitare lo scorso anno. Arriva da lontano ma è vicinissima a noi. E mi riferisco a Clarissa Goenawan che ha appena pubblicato proprio oggi, giorno dell'uscita, il suo nuovo romanzo, il terzo. Si intitola Watersong, è stato tradotto per l'Italia da Viola di Grado ed è pubblicato da Carbonio Editore per la collana Cielo Stellato. Diamo quindi subito il benvenuto a Clarissa. Hi Clarissa, thank you for being here.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here again.
It's a very pleasure to have you there to speak about your new book, Watersong. This is your third book and
Yes, that's right.
it starts with a dark prophecy. What inspired you to write this novel?
I think all my novels always deal with some kind of secrets, like when you thought you know someone, but actually you don't, or maybe something in the past. But I think if your question is pertaining to the prophecy, I had this discussion with my friends. It's like, do you make your own destiny, or actually everybody already have their own destiny? So I thought that was quite interesting because sometimes even when you do a fortune telling and then people always tell you, oh, something good will happen today, maybe you're really really looking forward to that, so everything that happen, it feels like a good thing. Like if something's telling you today is not your good day, and maybe you start to think, okay, even if it's just a small incident, it feels like, oh, I think this is really a bad day. So I thought that was something that is quite interesting to explore, whether destiny is something that you make or it just already decided for you.
This is a good question. What do you think about destiny after this book and before this book?
That's interesting. I think I mean, if you ask me personally, I think in some way actually you're affecting your own destiny. I mean, even there is something bad, some people can see a positive things into it, and usually everything that happens in life is not really black and white. It's kind of like the glass can be half full or it can be half empty. So someone who is positive, something happened to them, they can see something positive out of it. But someone who actually have a negative thinking, when they see something happen, they might think, oh, this is a bad thing that's happening to me. So I don't think in the way that you're affecting your destiny, in the way that your point of view actually change the ways that you see things. If that makes sense.
Yes, it
What
makes
do you
sense.
think?
I don't know. I'm reading books to understand some questions of our life. So this is one. I don't know. I don't have a clear idea. And this story is in the same universe of Rainbirds and the perfect world of Miwako Sumida. There are also plenty of minor characters returning.
Mm.
Why this choice? We have to expect to hear about Jean, for example, later next time. Jean is a very interesting returning character.
Yeah, I think he's quite an interesting character, and I would say one of the strong candidates. Yeah. But I think for this couple, when I wrote Rainbirds, I remember that there's this couple that stays in the same apartments as Ren, the main characters, and I thought that I wanted to explain why there are couples there when it's supposed to be for one person, but somehow it just turned up getting bigger and bigger. I think one of the interesting thing in writing is sometimes you find a side characters and suddenly you feel like, oh, I want to tell more about that story of that person. But we only have like 80,000 words in a book, and you can't just tell a story for everyone. So kind of just take away the story and bring it up to the next book. I think one of the quotes that I really like is I'm not sure who said this, but they say that there is no side characters, all side characters are main characters in the different books. So it's something that I believe in. Yeah.
In this book, the main character is Soji. I hope I pronounce it well.
Yes,
I
yes,
don't know.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. What may you tell us about him?
I think in terms of personality, I have some similarity with him. It's kind of like, just follow the rules, just do your jobs. But I think for him, at one point of time, it comes to the question that do you want to do the right things or do you want to do the things that is right? And I think it was a turning point that before that he was kind of like, oh, just follow the flow, follow whatever people told you. But when he found out that okay, enough is enough, and then he started to make changes, and that's where his character was really developed. But at the same time, I wanted to show him, okay, maybe you have a good intentions, but somehow it brought up a lot of bad things in your life. But how are you going to live through that? And I think sometimes we make a decisions with a good intention. It might not always turn out good. But then again, when we look into it, I think in the more holistic point of view, it might not be all that bad.
Yes, and Watersong is a story about letting go of our past and moving on. Is this an important theme for you? Also, in the previous two books, the characters were trying to move on their troubled past.
Yeah, I think it's even as a person, I think that's really important sometimes that we have to let go to the past because it's very hard for anyone not to do any mistake, you know. And sometimes you end up that doing mistake and the mistake keep on haunting you or something in the past that continue to haunt you. But I think it's at one point of time you need to start letting go and it's not completely forget about it, but to actually start to look at okay, I can't change the past but what can I do in the present moments so that the futures will get better for me? And yeah, I think those are some things that I believe in, and maybe somehow it comes to my writings. But I do think that there's an importance in starting to let go of the past and start to move on and look forward to the future.
Yes, but you're a little evil. You make us fall in love with your characters, then you treat them badly.
Okay.
Yes, we understand that life is not all of joy, but why you choose to show also this part of life?
I think that the characters usually grow through difficulties, isn't it? Some people say that diamond becomes sparkling because they have been under a lot of pressures for so long before they finally sparkles. And I do believe that sometimes bad experience, or I would say bad, I would say challenging experience can really make up a person characters. And by going through all these difficulty, you actually grow up to be a better person. So you get to know yourself more, get to know other people more, and you understand your strength, and it's really shape your characters compared to if there's nothing happening. And also perhaps if there is no challenges, there won't be any novel.
Yes. Okay, thank you for your answer. And we continue to read about you and your next book. We are so
Thank
curious.
you so much for reading. Yeah.
But I have a last question for you. Finally, what would you like the reader to take with them when they finish reading your book?
I guess as an author, the most important thing is if you want the reader to enjoy the story. You want them to enjoy the time that is spent reading the books. But of course, I think there are some messages there that I hope that you can give people encouragements. Like you say, so for example, to move on from the past and to continue to work to the futures, or to be brave and to speak up when there's something that you know is wrong. And sometimes it's just to take risks, even though it's something that may be out of characters. There are many things that people can take away from that, but I think the most important thing first is to enjoy the books. I think that's as the authors, that's what I want the most for people to enjoy.
Thank you. And for the next book, we expect you in Italy. So you can have a tour of our country and we can know you well.
I hope so. I've never been to Italy before.
Thank you for being here, Clarissa Goenawan.
Thank you for having me.
È stato un piacere averti con noi e consigliamo ovviamente Watersong, uscito per Carbonio Editore nella collana Cielo Stellato, tradotto da Viola Di Grado. Thank you.
Erika Zini presenta Bookmania.
Interviste, anticipazioni e consigli di lettura per il tempo libero.
Go tell a friend. Bookmania, dove il libro è protagonista.